My biggest fear, I mean, there are two. There's one domestic, which is the most overriding, and then there's Iran. I mean, the Iran peace deal, and the notion that this guy has a reflexive trigger finger, I would imagine, because the way he speaks and the way he interacts, that is disturbing and scary to me. I was a big proponent of that Iran deal. I think it's, by all accounts working, and I think the fact that he's going to trash it for that reason is absurd. The other is for all of the dreamers, all of the Hispanic Americans who, if what they say, they're called dreamers because it's following something that they want, that the Dream Act was put in for, and he is going to dismantle that. He is going to make people in our midst feel like less than citizens. No president does that. I mean, the president we just had, whether you agreed with him on deportations, and I didn't, and that was not the approach that I liked about immigration, treating people in America, supporting the Dream Act, and then taking that away, what Langston Hughes with a dream deferred, that's what this is. And that, to me, when you think of how he is with women, you think of how he is with Black Americans and with Hispanic Americans, to me, that's the scariest thing about this guy.
What some people allow, like, let's say the mainstream media or right-wing politicians to cloud their minds with, is that these people, like, intentionally came here legally and they're sucking and mooching off of our system, but that's not the case. These are individuals who were brought here when they were children. And oftentimes they were toddlers, right? They were brought here by their families, and America is all they've ever known. Yeah. And they've actually contributed to the community that they live in, or this country, tremendously, not to use Trump's word, but they've gone to school, they've served in the military, they're working, they're productive members of society that literally don't know anything other than the U.S. And so the idea of, giving them the right to stay here is, hey, you know what? You deserve to stay here. You've actually provided something to this country, and we want you to stay here. I mean, think about that. Think about being brought into a country illegally as you're a kid, and then being forced to go to a country that you know nothing about.
Yeah. And so I want to build on what Michael said too, but on Iran. So I worry about the great unraveling and how things can start to fall apart, and from order we can slowly devolve into chaos. And when we do, war begets more war, and conflict leads to more refugees, which leads to more conflict, etc. Right? And if you thought terrorism was bad now, wait till you stir up the hornet's nest of Iran and have hundreds of millions of Shia across the world enraged, right? And so you can't undo that mess. If you go into Iran and you tear up the deal that Michael's talking about, and it drives me crazy every time they criticize that deal. We got rid of their nuclear program, and not a single shot fired, and it didn't cost us a single dollar. We kidnapped their money, all their bank accounts all across the world, and held it hostage, and then just gave them their money back. Yeah. And we got rid of their nuclear program. You can't get a better deal, right? And then because of politics, they argue against it. They say they're going to rip it up. And then what's your alternative? They go back to their nuclear program, and then we're going to bomb them, and then you start a war. Iran is 4 times the size of Iraq. Imagine a mess 4 times the size of Iraq, okay?
With a much better functioning military.
And they have a real military. And by the way, they have funded Hezbollah and to some degree Hamas. And so they are ready to go. Hezbollah certainly is in Lebanon, let alone what's happening in Syria. And you unleash all of that throughout the Middle East and throughout the world. And you cannot put that back in the box. So then the unraveling begins at an accelerated pace, and let alone how it affects our economy and the worldwide economy as well. So, oh my God, if he breaks that, you can't unbreak it.